Okay. And we're going to do the audio sync now. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Lost Nomad podcast. Reset. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between, to the Lost Nomad podcast. Today we'll talk about 4 ways Here are 4 ways to deal with heartbreak and how to move on. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between, to the Lost Nomad podcast. This is going to be a kind of revisiting to the first episode that came out a few years ago, but we can, I guess, count this as really the penultimate, the first episode. But you didn't come here for that, you came here for the title. When it comes to my first relationship ever, I was a late bloomer. I got into my first relationship at the age of 28, and I was head over heels in love with this girl. And then suddenly, really overnight, something changed and she left me. Now, I'd heard of people talk about heartbreak before. I'd listened to all the breakup songs, the heartbreak songs. But nothing could have prepared me for just how badly it hurt, the pain I went through. And at that time, I was thinking, and you're probably thinking now, how do you deal with heartbreak? How do you move on? It's hard to describe what happened in my first breakup, because it's not that I found out that she was cheating, or that I lost feelings for her, or even the reverse, that she lost feelings for me. What kind of really sucked about the breakup was that there were still feelings between us, but our relationship was getting too serious for her, and that was just not something she wanted. And so it was this shitty situation where she decided to just break up with me, even though the feelings were still there. And I still remember it now, leaving her apartment, knowing that she was gone. And that's when everything kind of came crashing down on me. And I saw that I thought like it would be impossible to get through this. So how did I move on? How did I kind of deal with this? Well, it was very hard. Let's not kid ourselves. It was hard. So I did what most people do in this internet age. I just went onto YouTube and searched how to move on or how to deal with heartbreak. And it was in those search results that I found answers from guys like Jocko Willink and Jordan Peterson and some others. So in this first part, we're going to talk about some methods and mindsets we can implement to get through heartbreak. So how do you move on from someone? How do you move on from the pain? Just as all relationships are different, so too is there not one size fits all solution. So what you're about to hear, maybe one of them works for you. Maybe 2 of them, maybe all of them work for you. Try out all of them. And maybe none of them work out for you. But it can't hurt to try. And so our first kind of method and mindset is that you need to realize that they were not who you thought they were. Realize they were not the person you thought they were. This piece of advice comes from Jocko Willink. He is a former Navy SEAL, author, and just an all-around badass. And his advice works, I think, well. I think his advice works best if you were someone who got cheated on, or you found out something about your partner that just broke it. It was just a deal breaker. And so Jocko tells us that you've got to realize that the person that you were with was not actually who you thought they were. You've got to make peace with the fact that the person was not the person you thought they were. Their actions, their choices, their words have shown that they were not the image that you had in your mind of them. They were not this perfect thing that you had put there in your head. You gotta realize that that person is someone different. They are someone different. They are not the same person. And you need to realize that the person and the person you believe they were are not the same. And when you realize that you were in a relationship with someone who is not who you thought you were, and when you realize that you were in a relationship with someone who is not who you thought they were, then you can start to move on. The next piece of advice is one that is gonna kind of suck, but you've got to go through it. We can look also to someone like Jordan Peterson. As controversial as he might be, I think this advice is going to work. And he says that you've got to go through it. You've just got to sit there and think, how could I have been better? What could I have done better? How could I have prevented this? And I don't think there's a way to go back to your partner and say, I'll fix it, I'll be better. I think what's done is done. This is not so much to fix the relationship. This is so that you can be a better person in the next relationship. That you can better prepare yourself and make sure that whatever went wrong in this relationship doesn't happen in the next one. Now, of course, by the way, while all this is going on, you're going to feel like shit. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. Let yourself feel those things. You need to go through it. You need to feel it. You need to go through all the shitty feelings, and you've got to go through yourself and answer those kinds of questions of how can you be better the next time? What did you do wrong here? Where were you falling short? You need to answer questions like, what did I do wrong? What was wrong with me? What was I lacking? You need to answer these questions so that you can work on yourself, so that you can improve and be better for the next relationship. And yes, maybe it was your partner that was lacking and they were wrong. But then that's not on you. That's on them. When you're in a relationship, as much as you can, try and help them. Try and improve them and work on them. Try and help them to be better people. But if they're not willing to do it themselves, if they're not coming to bat for you, then that's on them, not you. This next one is what you might call the no hope method. And so another solution or method you want to try is the theory of the no hope technique. And it goes like this. You've got to think of it that there's no hope for this. It's done. It's over. It's finished. Now, when I was trying to go through this piece of advice helped me a little bit in my first breakup. Because when I said to myself, yeah, there is no hope. It's done. It's finished. It's over. There's no going back. It really kind of stopped. It didn't really stop any bad thoughts or negative feelings, but it stopped me from going through that cycle of that like clingy cycle of I need to call her and maybe I can fix this and please come back. And no. When you think to yourself, it's done. It's over. It's finished. There's no hope of recovering this. You can then, instead of focusing on a wild goose chase of maybe getting them back, you can focus on moving on properly moving on and getting ready for the next big thing, and to be a bit and healing. You can't go back. You know that there is no hope. You've got to put it in your mind. You've got to try and act. Think in your head that there is no hope for this relationship. After the breakup, there is no going back. There's no hope of getting back together. And so the only way out is to move forward. Now, this is the last piece of advice, and I think it might actually be the most helpful. Let them go. This last piece of advice about moving on was probably the most poignant and helpful technique for me. It really kind of helped me and really struck deep in my broken heart. It really helped me get out of a dark place. And it actually came from a rather unlikely source. It came from Medea. Yeah, that Tyler Perry character, Medea from the movies. Yeah, it came from her. But her advice, Medea's advice, is very simple. If someone is trying to walk out of your life, let them. Let them go. Let them leave. Because the people who are meant to be with you, the ones who truly care, they're going to stay no matter what. They're going to do everything they can to stay with you and keep you in their lives. Not everyone is meant to be with us always, okay? Something you gotta realize is that some people are meant to be with us until the end of our story. And some people are only meant to be in our lives for a chapter or two. If someone is trying to walk out of your life, it means they are not one of the ending people. They're just a chapter. Let them leave. If someone is trying to walk out of your life, let them go. Because the ones that truly care are going to want to stay. They're not going to try and walk. They're not going to want you to beg them to stay. Cut that out. It is my hope that by taking one or maybe all of the pieces It is my hope that by taking one or maybe all of the pieces of the above advice, that you may begin to heal from your heartbreak and the relationship that ended. I think it should be noted that while the advice may help to heal a broken heart, it will not immediately dull the pain. The sad truth of a breakup is that it's going to hurt. It's going to fucking hurt. And very little is going to numb that pain. Now you can try and get back together. You can try and fix it. But you're worth more than that. Don't do that. You deserve better than that. Go through the pain. Don't run from it. Face it head first. Realize that they were not the person you wanted them to be. There is no going back. And then let them go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between, for listening to the podcast. If you're getting this on video format and you would like to see more videos like this, then subscribe. If you are listening to this on the audio through a podcast, then subscribe to the podcast for a new episode every week. And if you would like to get this by text and maybe delivered to your email every morning, every week into your email, then click the link in the description and subscribe. Thank you. I will be seeing you next week in part 2, where I'll be sharing the exact steps that I took to heal and move on from not just my first breakup, but from the breakups I had after. May you find peace, may you find happiness, may you be healthy, may you be safe, and may you love unconditionally.